Now, if you've been watching my channel lately, you know I've been reviewing a lot of premium laptops. I looked at the Dell XPS 15. I looked at the Dell XPS 17. I recently unboxed and got my first look at the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 4. And by the way, that review will be dropping in the next day or so stay tuned. You don't want to miss that. But I wanted to do my full review of the one we're going to look at today, and that's the HP Envy 15 here for 2021. Now, it's pretty much identical in terms of the physical attributes of it from last year. Nothing has changed in that regard, but a lot of the stuff will happen under the hood. We now have 11th Gen 8 series processors. My unit has the Core i7 11800H processor. It has a discrete GPU. I have the RTX 3050 GPU, but you can go with a 3050 Ti or even a 3060 if you want. And you could also get a Core i9, but I don't know if you necessarily need to do that. We're gonna find out everything you need to know in this review. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the HP Envy 15 here for 2021. Coming up. And as we take a look at the specs, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by HP. I'm not being sponsored by HP. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. HP is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Pricing for the Envy 15 here in 2021 has a starting price of $1349.99. For those interested, I'll leave a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. Now, my unit is configured as such. I have the Core i7 11800H processor, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 RAM, 1 terabyte of SSD storage, and it also has the RTX 3050 GPU, although you can go with a much higher GPU, the 3050 Ti or even the 3060. My price all comes in at $1809.99. Again, for those interested, check out that link below. And it's showing a ship date of October 27th, 2021. That's not too bad considering we've been seeing 3+ month delays in terms of shipping across all the OEMs. Now, I already did an unboxing and first look review of this laptop. I'll drop a link in the description below for those that didn't see it. I highly encourage you to check it out. Now, the first thing that stands out to you when you hold this for the first time is how premium this all-metal design is. It really is first rate in terms of the build and in terms of the looks. I really am a fan of the Envy line when it comes to the looks. And at 4.81 pounds or 2.18 kilograms, this is definitely not the lightest 15-inch laptop out there, but definitely portable. You could throw it in your bag. It is good to take with you on the road. But again, a little bit of heft, considering the fact that it does have an RTX 3050 GPU underneath the hood. It does have that touch layer in terms of the display. That will definitely add to the weight. Now, there's a lot of confusion on whether or not this supports Thunderbolt, and I don't know if it's Thunderbolt 3 or Thunderbolt 4, but what I can confirm, and as you can see here, this unit that I have here today does not have Thunderbolt support. And how do I know that? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, it doesn't say it on the website, but even if you don't want to rely on that because it may not be reliable, I did my own testing on this and I plugged in an SSD drive from Sabrent that is Thunderbolt only. It's a Thunderbolt SSD drive, and that didn't work on either one of the two USB-C ports. And I plugged that same SSD drive, which uses only Thunderbolt, into the Dell XPS 15 9510, and it worked like a charm. That has Thunderbolt 4 ports. Now, there is some information circulating that if you get the unit with the RTX 3060 GPU, that will have Thunderbolt support. I cannot independently confirm that. I have the unit with the RTX 3050, so take it for what it's worth. Now, I think HP can do a better job communicating to the consumer what exactly this has and what it doesn't have as far as these ports are concerned. If I do get a comment from HP, I will let everybody know. But I think as far as communication goes, not such a good job in this regard. And with that being said, let's check out exactly what you do get with this port selection. Let's start off on the left side. We get your power port, a USB-A port, an HDMI 2.1 port, and two USB-C ports that do not support charging. How do I know that? I've tried. Neither one of those ports support charging. You'll need to use the included 200-watt AC adapter in the box. It uses a barrel pin connector, as you see here. And the reason being, I would think, is because the RTX 3050 and above will need to draw more power than any USB-C adapter can provide. So you're going to need to use that included adapter. Now, these two USB-C ports do support data and display out. And finally, you get a microSD card slot to round out all the ports on the left side. Moving over to the right side is another USB-A port, and finally a microphone headphone combo jack to round out the ports on this laptop. Now, I already opened up this laptop in the unboxing and first look review that I posted about a month ago. So if you didn't do it, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. But it's pretty easy, and the good news is there's no rubber strips you need to remove. Just remove the T5 Torx screws, pop off the bottom plate, and you're in. And I have to say, they've made it pretty easy. Now, once inside, you'll notice a couple of things here. You'll notice the two fans for cooling. You'll notice that it retains the same vapor chamber cooling as the model from 2020 had. And you'll also notice that there are two SODIMM slots for you to upgrade the RAM. And the good news is here, this is the Rank 8 RAM, which is actually faster than the Rank 16 we saw with the XPS 15 9510. So it's good to see the faster RAM on this. Now, and my unit has 32 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 RAM running in dual channel mode. And there's also good news on the SSD front. There are two SSD slots that are user accessible, and it is the faster PCIe Gen 4. That means you're going to get some really fast reads and writes, as you can see from these results. Good to see that in this laptop. It has a Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5 combo, and it worked well on both fronts. But one thing to note, it's soldered into the motherboard. You won't be able to upgrade it down the road if you have to swap it out. And as we saw in the last video I did on this, one of my favorite aspects of this laptop is its display. Now, this is an AMOLED display. It's 15.6 inches. It's got a UHD 4K resolution. That's 3840 by 2160. That also means it's a 16:9 aspect ratio, which of course is highly optimized for consuming media. Watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube on this display has been excellent. Now, it's also a pretty bright display. They claim about 400 nits in terms of brightness, according to HP. I actually measured slightly below that, 387. That's definitely close enough. Now, this is a glossy display. What that means is in certain lighting conditions, you will notice some glare and reflections. That I'm not crazy about. I definitely prefer a matte display. Now, since it's a 16:9 aspect ratio, this is optimized for watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, watching movies. Certainly highly optimized for that. If you want to get work done, not as great since it won't have as tall of a nature as a 16:10 aspect ratio that we recently saw with, say, something like the Dell XPS 15 or even the X1 Extreme Gen 4 from Lenovo in their ThinkPad line. And this is also a multi-touch display. That means you can navigate through the OS with your finger. I thought it was very responsive and adds a nice convenience factor to this as well. Good job on that front. You're looking at really deep blacks, the super high contrast, both hallmarks of an AMOLED display, and they're here. Now, as far as the white points, very good, and it also is color accurate. Now, anything below 2 is considered color accurate. This got 1.99, slightly below my threshold, so it is a color accurate display, but it really covers the color gamut very well. 100% sRGB, 95% Adobe RGB, 93% of the DCI P3 wide color gamut, and 90% NTSC makes this a very good choice for content creators who do Lightroom, Photoshop, color grading, and of course, video editing and things like Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve. So this is the front-facing camera on the HP Envy 15 here for 2021, a 720p, 30 frames per second webcam. Now, one thing to note, this is not an infrared webcam. That means you cannot log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. There is a fingerprint scanner located within the keyboard that will allow you to log in with Windows Hello, of course, but no infrared camera, so again, no face recognition. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality of the internal mics? I am curious to know. Now, there is a camera key on the keyboard itself that allows you to turn off the webcam, giving you more security and privacy. I love that. All right, let's talk about performance, and I'm actually really impressed considering the fact that I was only able to get this with the RTX 3050 because it was the only one available at the time when I ordered it. You can now get it with a more robust GPU, but as you can see from these benchmarks, especially the multi-core performance, really good numbers here, especially with that 9481 multi-core performance in the Geekbench 5.1 test, and as you can see when you compare it to some of its competition with even more higher-end GPUs, holding its own, and maybe even exceeding it, especially with that multi-core performance. Things like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, everyday tasks all worked well. You could do video editing on this, especially if you're a content creator. 1080p, 4K video editing was very good in Premiere Pro. And it's great for media consumption. Watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube is especially great since it has this beautiful, vibrant AMOLED display. So it's a great media consumption device. Now you could also play games on this as well. Now, I think this is a laptop that is geared more towards a creator than it is for gaming. So it's not a gaming laptop per se, but you can play games, as you can see from these numbers, especially if you lower the settings on some of the more popular titles, as you can see from these results. So definitely possible to do gaming on this. But again, don't go into this thinking this is a dedicated gaming laptop. And when I ran the Prime 95 stress test to see if this will thermal throttle under heavy load, I noticed it would turbo boost up to 4.2 gigahertz for about 3 minutes and reach a core temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. Then I noticed a slight drop down to 3.1 to 3.6 gigahertz to maintain a slightly cooler 88 degrees Celsius. Now, what this tells us is this maintains good clock speeds even under heavy load, resulting in good performance. And that's why we see the good numbers here today. And as far as the surface temperatures are concerned under heavy load, I noticed it would heat up by the keyboard and on the underside, as you see here, but never to the point where it's overly hot where you cannot touch it. So it wasn't too much of an issue. Now, as far as the fan noise is concerned, the dual fans will kick in under heavy load. They do get pretty loud and they are noticeable under heavy load, but for everyday tasks, not too bad, but they do run every now and then. So something to keep in mind. And this has an 83 watt-hour battery, and it did 7 hours and 4 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits. What does this mean in real-world mixed usage? You're looking at anywhere from 5 to 6 hours, depending on what you're doing with this laptop. And it takes about 90 minutes to give you a full charge with the included 200-watt barrel pin connector AC adapter. Now, for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger. Now, as far as the keyboard itself is concerned, I'm really liking it. Good tactile feedback, good key travel, very comfortable to type on for extended periods of time. So actually one of my favorite keyboards out there right now. It's really good. Now, it does have a multi-stage backlight and the keys light up white, but there is one issue I have with it, and that, of course, is the fact that the keys are silver and the keys light up white, so it's hard to differentiate or see the contrast between the two in certain lighting conditions. Not a big deal, but something to keep in mind. And it does have a glass precision touchpad, nicely sized, and I thought it was very responsive. Two-finger scrolling worked well, and all the gestures work as advertised. Good job on that front. And as far as the sound is concerned, it has two bottom-firing speakers. Those two grills you see by the keyboard are not speaker grills. For those wondering, they're probably more for airflow or for aesthetic reasons. But as far as the sound itself is concerned, I thought it was okay. I thought it could use a little bit more bass. I found that it was a little bit tinny. The mids were decent, and the volume was decent as well. I would say the speakers are adequate to get the job done. But if you want a better audio experience, use a good pair of headphones, either wired or Bluetooth. All right, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the HP Envy 15 here for 2021? And I gotta say, a lot to like, especially if you are a content creator who is looking for a nice 4K UHD AMOLED display, who has more upgradability options as far as the 2 SODIMM slots and the 2 M.2 2280 slots. And speaking of that storage, it is the fast PCIe Gen 4 fast reads and writes, and you're gonna love the strong performance out of that RTX 3050 paired with the CPU, which is the Core i7 11800H processor. You could also get it with a Core i9. I don't think most people will need it, but it is there for those who want that extra horsepower that it would bring. I like the fact that it has an electronic webcam shutter. I like the sleek design. I like the really sturdy all-metal build. Plenty of ports and connection, as we talked about, although my unit doesn't have any Thunderbolt support on it, and it doesn't support charging as far as those USB-C ports are concerned. Vapor chamber cooling is here, and I think they did a decent job as far as the thermal throttling on this. It wasn't too bad as far as the thermals are concerned. And you will notice those loud fan noise under heavy load. That is something to keep in mind. And it has average battery life. But I think this is a really good laptop for the content creator, and it really brings a lot to the table. Pretty much all the changes are under the hood this time around, and I think HP did another good job. A few nitpicks here and there, as I mentioned, but I think the overall package definitely delivers. laptop. So what do you think about this bad boy, the NV15? All metal design. I like the way this looks. I'm a big fan of the Envy looks as far as the aesthetics. Really rock solid build, very little flex or give on this lid. Really nice. It feels nice and dense also. Not the lightest 15-inch laptop out there, but definitely portable to take with you on the go. Now, the key things here, of course, are the 11th gen Tiger Lake processor that this now has, the Core i7 11800H, and I thought performance was very good. I thought the RTX 3050 performed very well. I thought the multi-core score in particular was really good, as we saw from the numbers, especially on that Geekbench 5 test. This really shined in that regard. You can definitely game on this laptop, although I wouldn't call it a gaming laptop, but you could definitely get playable frame rates as I showed in the video. Video editing, stuff like that, it'll all work well. Now keep in mind, this is geared towards that content creator, and that's because it has a really nice display. It's a 15.6-inch AMOLED display, absolutely gorgeous. It gets bright, it's sharp, it's vivid. Everything you'd come to expect with an AMOLED display is here, so that is good. One thing to note, it is a 16:9 aspect ratio. I definitely prefer a 16:10 aspect ratio here in 2021, but nonetheless, still good and will get the job done, especially if you are that content creator. Now, battery life, I would say, is mediocre at best on this. I got a little bit over 7 hours on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits, and you're looking at anywhere from 5 to 6 hours real world mixed usage, but of course your mileage may vary depending on what you're doing with this laptop, so please keep that in mind. Now, as far as the price is concerned, I think it's very competitive and actually is a little bit less expensive than, say, the Dell XPS 15 or even the X1 Extreme Gen 4. Now, speaking of that laptop, I will have my full review on that very soon. And one thing to note, I showed the numbers in this video with its single channel RAM that was given to me by Lenovo with that 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. I added another 16 gigabytes of RAM in that open SODIMM slot, so I now have 32 gigabytes of RAM running in dual channel mode, and I'm seeing improved numbers running in dual channel mode. I'm going to go more into that, of course, in that full review. That's going to be dropping the next day or so, so you want to make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss a thing. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.